Here, let me help you with those packages.
Oh, how nice.
I'll carry that case of beer. Do you live nearby? I live nearby.
Can you handle a few more?
Oh, I'm pretty strong.
Okay, here. They're having a birthday special on 6 packs of 6 12-ounce flip cap bottles of Ballantine Beer.
Yes, but 11 cases. We must be having a party.
Oh, no. My husband said to pick up as many as I could carry.
Take advantage of Ballantine's birthday special on 6 packs of 12-ounce flip cap bottles. Send your wife for some.
This is WOR, AM and FM, New York.
Tell you how difficult it is to face them on Friday night. Oh, Friday night is fraught with fear and trepidation on all sides. And everywhere I look, I see backsliders. Everywhere on all sides, they're sliding backwards like there ain't no tomorrow. Stand up and be counted. Boy, I bet that scared a whole lot of them away from that. Oh, they're frantically looking for a rock and roll station right now. Oh, I see evil everywhere I look. By George. Great Scott. Oh, that's a kill it there, John. Oh, tonight's one of them nights. Gotta get all tuned up in a winter. I'm Sheik of Araby. That's a record that I made in Bangkok. Wait a minute, hold on here. Let's see. All right, let's see. I'll award you the brass figure with bronze oak leaf palm if you can tell me what I am playing. And for my next selection, I will play Trees by Joyce Kilmer. Oh, I'm Sheik. I'm the Sheik of Araby. Oh, your love, oh baby, your love belongs to guess who? At night when you're asleep. Oh boy, into your tent, I'll creepity creep. Oh, the stars that shine above will light our way to love. Oh, you rule this land with me, baby. I'm the Sheik of Araby. Ba-ba-do. I'm the Sheik of Araby. Woohoo! Your love belongs to me, baby. At night when you're asleep. Oh, into your tent, baby. I'll creepity creep. The stars that shine above will light our way to love. Oh, baby, love. You'll rule this land with me. I'm the Sheik, the big shot, the one and only, the number one. I'm the Sheik of Araby. All right. We'll hold them for a while. Those guys out there think they can play the kazoo, blow it out through their nose. Now, you know, there's a lot of things you have to face, a lot of decisions, little momentary things. And one of the first decisions, watch me, John, watch Daddy-O here. One of the very first decisions that we have to face every night is which commercial to hit them with quickest. Here it comes.
Newport tastes fresher, tastes better too. Newport tastes fresher, tastes better too. Newport tastes fresher, tastes better too. Than any other menthol cigarette.
Ready to try a great fresh taste? Try Newport. Mild natural menthol, great tasting tobaccos, white filter. Newport tastes fresher and tastes better than any other menthol cigarette.
Newport tastes fresher, tastes better too. Than any other menthol cigarette.
Gee, wasn't that moving? I mean, there are just some things you just can't listen to without having the desire somehow. It's moving, you know? It's all kinds of movements. However, you know, that reminds me, listening to that thing there, it's just like the Chinese water drop torture. And have you ever had the feeling from time to time that somebody is slowly boring into your subconscious with a stainless steel bit? And they're squirting into it, oozing into it, you know, like the cooks. Have you ever seen a cook ice a wedding cake with the big thing he squirts? They're squirting glop into your soul. No matter where you turn, somebody is looking out and says, and now, friends, and now, no, watch me. And now, friends, a word from our sponsor.
Here's Stan Getz and Astra Gilberto for Macleans.
It's Macleans, the toothpaste that cleans with a new kind of taste that's wild. What a taste, what a zing. When you smile, all the bells will ring. Get 'em white, start tonight with Macleans. Taste the difference, try new Macleans, you go.
You still using that sweet kid stuff? Try the toothpaste that gets teeth irresistibly white. You can actually feel Maclean's whitening. Your whole mouth feels refreshed and invigorated.
Get 'em white, start tonight with Macleans. Taste the difference, try new Macleans, you go. Taste the difference, try new Macleans, you go.
Can't stand it. I can't stand it. How much longer? Oh. How much longer? Inch by inch, I am being reduced to a mere shrieking hulk of what once was a magnificent creature, a man, a creature designed to fly, to reach to the heavens, to reach higher and higher, and to spin on elfin's silken wings a web of sheer beauty. Ah, how much longer? That's it, I'll go. After you've gone and left me crying. Yeah, you're gonna be sorry after you've gone. There's no denying. That's all right. Cut out. You'll feel blue. You'll feel sad. Yeah, you're gonna miss the greatest man that you ever had, and don't you forget it. There'll come a day, and don't you forget it. I mean it, baby. There'll come a day. Oh, boy, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna weep and yell and holler, get your shoes off. Someday when you're lonely, your heart's gonna bust, gonna break like mine, and you're gonna want me only. Oh, after you've gone, yeah, see, too late again. After you've gone away, ba-da-do, ba-ba-do, ba-ba-do, ba-ba-ba-da-da-da, ba-ba-da. After you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, there ain't no denying. You'll feel blue, oh, you'll feel sad. You're gonna miss the greatest man that you done ever had. Oh, there'll come a day. Oh, and don't you forget it, baby. There'll come a day when you're gonna regret it. I'm gonna be on that great Route 66 of life, spinning forever out there in my fantastic Jaguar, trailing clouds of smoke. On my way to the coast where things really happen, baby, and you're going to regret it. And you're going to want me only. It's going to be too late. After you've gone away. After you've gone. All right, that's enough of that now. Just want to let you know that this ain't Tex McCrary. Yes, indeed. Bark. I've been debating, since it is Friday night, and the parishioners, as I say, during the week they backslide badly, and strong medicine is called for. And I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, and I'm not sure where I will take my text from. I'm debating. Would you prefer to hear some of the sequences of my hair-raising Toledo tales? I have never told you about the time, did I, that I lived in Toledo? Let me tell you, there are some things you don't talk about. I'll tell you, you can talk about Indiana. You've heard me talk about Indiana, because Indiana has a certain peculiar dynamic mediocrity about it. I mean, Indiana just lays there like a great big fat old decadent pool table. And Indiana has a thing, it's a place. I mean, there's the Indiana School of Writing. Why do you think so many great writers have come out of Indiana? You notice they come out? Let me tell you, they split out of there like big fat speckled birds. I'll tell you, they just don't hang around. They get away as far away as they can about it. They go to Paris and then write about Indiana, in Paris. They go to New York and do radio shows about Indiana in New York. So, there's a certain thing. But Toledo, it's just like swimming underwater in a gigantic bowl of lukewarm cream of wheat. I mean, there's just nothing. It's just, you can't get mad at it. Oh, no, you can't. By the way, that is an interesting point there. A couple of nights ago, we did a show about gas bags. And a lot of people wrote to me saying, "Oh, you're a gas bag." Me, merely because I'm on the... Oh, no. We've got to clear this up. A gas bag is not a person who speaks or who talks a lot. A gas bag is a man who has the incredible ability to talk endlessly and never get anybody mad. That is a gas bag. He sounds like a gigantic cello going, and as we all in our realization of the true ultimate spirit of the great flowering raison d'etre of mankind, as the poet Seneca said, ever upward and ever onward, reaching ever for the sun. This is a gas bag. You can't get mad at him. The only thing that happens is your ears start getting a little moldy. And, you start... that's a gas bag. No, I cannot conceivably be a gas bag, judging from the complaints that WOR receives every hour on the hour for thousands of parishioners everywhere. And almost invariably, the one thing they say is, when is that slob going to stop that purported singing? After you've gone, oh, baby, after you've gone, there's no denying you'll feel blue. You'll feel sad. Let's go, gang, all together now. You'll miss the greatest man that you done ever had. There'll come a day, all together now. Let's sing it all in unison. And don't forget it. There'll come a day, watch the bouncing ball, when you'll regret it. Follow the words. Someday when you are lonely. Now, all together now. Your heart will break like mine, and you'll want me only. Did you hear that? After you've gone. Follow it now, all together now. After you've gone away. Now, pick it up now. Here we go now. Follow the beat now. All together now. Let's go. After you've gone. That's it. There, left me crying. There goes that little ball now. After you've gone. Oh, there's no denying. Okay, now see, it's easy to follow. It's easy to follow the incessant, deep pulse beat of mediocrity. It is everywhere. And that reminds me, this is WOR, your suffering station in New York, and we have one more little whoopee for you. All together now. Oh, it's Beersville time, friends. Friday night, and for all of you backsliders, we would like to point out that Miller High Life, the Champagne bottled beer, is the favorite refreshment of dynamic backsliders everywhere across the country. And as the game of golf lures millions of new players to its ranks each year, well, I talk about mediocrity and klutziness. It's sick to realize that it's happening. More and more guys are trying to forget what happened in the afternoon by slopping it in. Miller High Life is served and enjoyed by millions. Millions everywhere. Everywhere you look, there are guys sopping up that Miller High Life. It's squirting out of their shoes. It's squirting out of their ears. It's the champagne of bottled beer. Miller High Life, brewed only in guess where? Oh, I don't even have to tell you where it's brewed. What a maniacal town it is. Let's go. Miller High Life. Gee, that was good, wasn't it, Russ? That reminded me of Ted. That's the way Ted does his commercials. I studied under him. Yes, sir. Well, now, all right. Now it's that time. It's time to settle down now, get it going here. And I'm going to put it up to a vote now. Do you want to hear, or should I save this for the Limelight show? You know, tomorrow night I go on this show at the Limelight at 5 minutes past 10. It is a live show. It's a sneaky live show, and it's down in Sheridan Square, right in the heart of pulsating, yeasty village where life is beautiful and rich. Oh, I'll tell you, life is so fantastic and beautiful and rich down there. There's sensitive people everywhere you look. And it's the village. And we come out of the Limelight, which is a place in the village, every Saturday night from 5 minutes past 10 until midnight. Now, if you would like to come down there, and as we say in the village in our hip way, make the scene, I suggest that you give them a call down there at the Limelight. And why doesn't somebody call the Limelight right now for me and say, is Kels there? And Kels will answer and say, will you get on the stick? Just let me know what he says. But we'll be down there at 5 minutes past 10, and if you can't make the scene, well, we're on the air at that time, 5 minutes past 10. We come on. Do they turn on the hey, Russ, you're down here once in a while. Am I actually being broadcast when I'm down there at the Limelight? Do they put it on the air? That's what I figured sometimes. I mean, we can get rid of that crowd, of that insane crowd of basketball players and politicians that come in on Saturday. However, we go on the air at 5 minutes past 10, and it's a great place to sit around and yell and holler and eat pizza burgers and do the whole bit. And you have to have, well, I'll tell you this, though. If you can't get a reservation, which they'll probably tell you, don't believe them. They're saving it all for their friends, and their friends never show. So if you'd like to come down there, there's a lot of room to stand around. You can hang onto the moose head there, and you know, we got a moose head, we got an elk's head down there. It's the only place I know where they got a stuffed rhinoceros head on the wall. It's one of their cooks. One of their cooks used to work there years ago, and we'll be here for a while. Now, I don't know whether or not I should tell you this story. I'm thinking about it because it's very difficult for me to know just how far one can go in peeling the onion. You know what is it, the phrase peeling the onion? You know, of course, that many of the psychologists look at mankind, look at man, people, you know, Aunt Frida, everybody. They look at them as if they're a kind of onion. Now, have you ever peeled an onion? You know, you take the first layer off, and there's another layer, right? And then you take that layer off, and what do you get? That's right, another layer, see? And you can keep on practically to infinity. In fact, even when you get down to the inside of an onion, there isn't any actual core, really. There's just a little layer that's kind of got caught between all the other layers, you see? Now, I don't know how far you can go in this peeling the onion before all the other sufferers out there, because it gets very painful, you know? Although it depends on how you call pain, what you think of pain. Have you ever stood and cheered while somebody was in the dentist chair? Well, I have. I had this friend who wouldn't go to the dentist unless I went. And No, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't Flick. It doesn't make any difference who it was. Who cares who it was? So it was Horace. I don't care. But anyway, this guy would not go to the dentist. This was an announcer I knew in an earlier radio station that I worked in. And we had an announcer, by the way, that had a free-floating upper plate. And it was the only station break I've ever heard that was accompanied by castanets. And he was killed, by the way, when FM came in, Russ, because he could always blame it on background noise when it was on AM. There was talking about, everybody. But when FM came in and the people turned up the gain, you could hear the sound of castanets being played constantly, no matter what he did. Well, in this, everyone thinks I'm laughing. We had an announcer. I'll tell you one thing: if you want to hear some great announcers, believe it or not, I worked with an announcer who could not pronounce one letter of the alphabet. The W. He could not pronounce, believe it or not. And guess what the call letters at the station was that I was working on? It was WLW. And this guy would come on, and he would say, WLW. It was fantastic. I mean, it sounded like somebody was squeezing out a dish rag, and other than that, he was fantastic. He was beautiful, deep, rich, beautiful, rolling, resonant voice. And then there would be a brief, pregnant pause, and you could feel he was very sensitive about not being able to make a station break. It's ridiculous station breaks. He would say, the time is now 10:30. And there would be a pause, and you could sense him getting back in the edge of the studio, pulling on his track shoes and running metaphorically towards the microphone and leaping, trying to make nation station. And it sounded like another man. And I could go on. I could tell you little stories like this, and I don't know whether or not it's really proper or real. I knew an announcer, by the way, Russ, the only announcer I ever knew, who carried his own microphone with him from station to station. He was used to working in these little 30-watt stations where they had these rotten microphones, and he was a true itinerant worker in the field, and he carried his microphone around in a velvet bag, a little jewel bag with the little drawstrings at the top like a marble bag, and he carried this beautiful Electro Voice microphone around in a sack with him, just like Bix Beiderbecke carried his horn around in a paper bag. And this guy, he'd unplug it. After he'd do his show, he'd unplug it, and he'd polish it off, and he'd put it back in a little purple sack, and he'd plug in the Sears Roebuck double-button carbon mic that we use, And everybody in town thought he was the most fantastic announcer. Of course, they were used to us sounding like we were talking through the kazoo. And now speaking, the Jeff Gilling on the news, as well as just a... That's the way we sounded usually. Oh yeah, sure. And it was just very depressing, for at least this was one of the first radio stations I ever worked in, and they used to record us. The PD would record us off the air. He'd go home and he had one of these little tape recorders, little Pentron tape or wind-up tape recorder, and it was reportedly a 7.5. Well, his actually was about 6 3/4, which added to our problem, and it varied between 6 3/4 and 9.5. And it varied rapidly. It fluctuated over the scale in an elliptical waveform. It was not even a sine wave, you see. And so Sam would call us into his office, usually about Wednesday, when he began to feel very insecure and his teeth were hurting. He had these plates that squinched in the back. And Sam would sit there in the program director's office, and all the while, you see, he's got the monitor speaker, and he's been listening to us. His little band, you see, of showbiz personalities. And you would get the note, it would say, Sam wants to talk to you. And I would go into the room there, and Sam would be sitting in his swivel chair. I don't know why I'm telling you stories about radio. Sam would be sitting in his revolving chair and his rented desk. They had this place they rented the desk for. They rented everybody. They even rented me from that place. And Sam was sitting there, and Sam would say, I want you to listen now. He says, now, we've talked about this before, Shep. I want you to listen to how you sounded Sunday morning. Oh, God, Hans, this is a mess. Get your head to it. If you listen to them, it was a call today because of the military, and then on 9/11. But we called that the today to 775 days that the late not these bills. He said, now look, you realize, of course, how difficult it is to sell your type. And So I knew it was a prelude for Sam to tell me that once again I'm going to have to hinge in my belt and I'm going to have to lose another commercial. Well, now, he used to always point out, he says, why don't any of you guys sound like Herb? Now, Herb is, and Herb, of course, there was Herb sitting in the next room with his Electra voice. His dynamic Electra, his magnificent $600 Electra voice that he bought, or stole from some other radio station, who knows. And I'll never forget the first day I discovered that about this guy. I didn't know it. We used to work in different studios, and we all worked our own turntables, the whole schlemoo. And I'd be in studio one, and I'd say, here's the way it would go. See, I'd be on the air, I'd say, and I stepped into this, and all he calls stepped into him. Now, I don't know whether you can decipher that, but that's the way our radio station sounded 20 feet away from the monitor. We always felt that it was because our antenna was down, which was most of the time. We had a very strong ground wave. Now, step into his next, and there There would be a brief pregnant pause, and I would throw the switch, and I would throw the studio to, and there's this klutz sitting in there, and he would say, hello, this is Herb Smith coming to you from Studio 1 in downtown Toledo. And he's got his hand, around his ear, that, WSPD, your Toledo broadcasting station. I'd sit in there, and holy smokes, what a sense of inferiority. This guy'd rattle the speaker cones on the monitor in there, and he was a little skinny guy. And I'd look in there, and I'd watch his Adam's apple go up and down in his neck. He had one of these Adam's apples that had a play of about 8.5 inches. And you'd hear it go all the way down and hit his rib and then bounce up and get the bottom of the larynx, And I would watch him. Hello, WSPD brings you now the Herb Smith Show. Good afternoon, ladies. Oh, wow. You could just hear, and you could hear all these women all over town. You could hear their girdles creaking. It was just insane. You could hear tears, and you could hear people yelling, and guys hollering, turn that guy off! Immediately the guys get nervous, and they get jealous, and all that. It was old Herb Smith booming out of that radio station, a little 250-watter. Well, weeks went by, and I'm getting sick. And there was a guy named Doug Tabner in the morning who not only had the worst microphone, we didn't know, we just knew guys. I noticed one very funny thing about all of our microphones. They all had a little button on the back. A little button, and they were little round ones, and there was a little thing on the back that said, surprise your neighbors. Cut in on your neighbors' radio shows, surprise them with your own commercials. Apparently, they ordered them from the, in the back where you buy them in the magazines at $1.95. You press the button. They had the button wired down, see? And here we were running, and I didn't know, I just thought that was the kind of microphones they had in the radio station. It was very fun. One of them had American Tell and Tell on it. It was stolen from a phone, I think. They took the phone out, and they had a little thing. And we just assumed that that's the way it was in radio. You see, we were all 8 years old, and I just figured that's the way it was in radio, except that Herb was making the scene. And one day, I went in there, into Herb's studio. You see, I was off that day. And I saw something shining in front of Herb. It was a very shiny thing he had there, and it was going along there. And I hung around the studio a little bit. I was wanting to see, because, there's no question about it that you can tell the professionals from the amateurs. The professionals learn from the real greats. Oh, believe me, Roger Maris watches movies of Ted Williams swinging. It is only Phil Linz that does not watch movies of Ted Williams swinging. There's a big difference. I'm serious. That's a fact. And so already I was becoming a pro, and I was watching old Herb Smith work. And Herb looked just like the rest of us, you see. And the funny part of Herb was that Herb didn't sound any different from the rest of us when you were in the studio. I figured it was his fantastic mic technique that he had. And, he'd talk with a little high voice, sort of like that in normal talk, and it would come out, this is Herb Smith, coming to you now direct from downtown Toledo, high overlooking Lake Erie. And now, ladies, wow. Well, I was sitting back. How does he do it? What does he do? What's he got? Has he got special tight shoes? What is it? What is it? Is it the underwear he wears? He wears the zipper on the side and squeezes it? What is it, see? And really, I was trying to figure this out. And Doug Tabner and I, we were both figuring on assassinating him or something. Doug was on in the morning, and Doug not only had that microphone that I often use, a little round one there with a button on the side, said A&P on it or something. And he had this one. It came as a prize. Something they had one of these contests, And Doug was on in the morning. Doug naturally had a rotten voice. So Doug's rotten voice, coupled with the microphone, Doug was in hot water constantly, and the only reason Doug ever kept his job was that he was paying the station $25 a week to work. See, Doug was a commercial account. He just paid him. They didn't pay Doug. Every morning, Doug was on from 5 until 8, and he would pay them $25 a week at the end of the week. He was getting experience, you see. Well, Doug and I, every day we'd hear this fantastic guy. And so this one day, I'm sitting in the studio, and I see Herb, and Herb was not aware that I was watching him. And so Herb is sitting there, and he finished, "And good afternoon, ladies. This is the Herb Smith Show. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time." Well, and Herb gets up, and he goes over to the cannon plug on the wall. He unplugs the plug. Well, we never had, nobody ever messed with the plugs on the wall. The engineers come around and do that once in a while. He unplugs the plug on the wall, and he starts taking the screws off. And sure enough, out of his briefcase comes this little velvet bag. In goes the microphone. He takes out of the drawer on the desk. Out comes our little single-button carbon mic, the one that says stolen from the phone company on it. He puts it back in the little thing. He plugs it in. And 5 minutes later, guess what I'm sitting in front of? 5 minutes later, I'm saying, no. This is your tape, you get the news. Don't tell me about LCD news, and the radios of the United States. Oh, there's ways to cheat all over, Wilt Chamberlain, you don't think he's actually that tall, do you? Believe me, someday can you imagine? Well, someday it's going to turn out he's got 7-foot Adler shoes on. Everywhere you go, I'm serious, that you begin to realize that the real pros have got fantastic equipment attached to them. I'll never forget the time I get in the show, and I had an idea, it's a Broadway-type show, and I had an idea that people who are on Broadway, they sing, they really sing out. I have an idea, you see the singer. I went to see the show first, and I see the singer down there singing, "I love you, I love you." And oh, wowie, what a fantastic voice. Woo, what a fantastic voice. Well, it wasn't until I was in the show for 3 days I realized this guy had a microphone that went around his neck, attached directly to his larynx. And not only that, every time he sang, they played a record backstage of somebody else. And they fed it out through the loudspeaker. I love you, I love... Everything is phony in this world. Everything. You don't think for a minute that I'm real, do you? Listen, I'm far too much of a pro for that. Hit the little thing there, John. After you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, oh baby, there ain't no denying. You'll feel blue, you'll feel sad. Oh, you're gonna miss the greatest man you done ever had. There'll come a day, say I'm singing great tonight, and don't forget it. There'll come a day when you'll regret it. Someday when you're lonely, your heart will break like mine, and you'll want me only. Rest with hands after you've gone away. There was a lot of that reminds me. There were about 15 different ways to be a phony singer. That is a non-singer who convinces everybody they're singing. I've been in a couple of musicals, and I know about this. And one of the best ways to be a non-singer is to be the so-called, be part of that great Ted Lewis, Al Jolson syndrome. The non-singer doesn't really hit any note. This is the kind of thing they do. After you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, there's no denying. You'll feel blue, you'll feel sad. Oh, you'll miss the greatest man you ever had. Yes, sirree. There'll come a day, and don't forget it. Oh, yes, sirree. Me and my shadow. There'll come a day. Oh. Someday, when you are lonely, oh, your heart will break like mine, and you'll want me only. After you've gone, away, oh, wow, oh, yeah. After you've gone, and left me crying. After you've gone, there's no denying, baby. Then you start the talking part. You'll feel blue. you'll feel sad. You'll miss the greatest man you ever had. There'll come a day you'll miss the greatest man you ever had. Oh, me and my shadow, we're so lonely walking down the avenue. Yes, sirree, Sophie, Tucker, Al Jolson. I want to say hello to all you folks out there. Is everybody happy? Is everybody happy after you've gone? After you've gone away. Is everybody happy? Good evening, Mrs. Calabash. No, that's enough of that. Gee, that's a terrible show. Incredible. Everybody in the room, so you're okay, it's good. Ooh, they got the monitor turned down. They're listening to Fulton Lewis Jr. A sick bunch. Well, we'll be, funny thing, gee whiz, I don't have enough time to tell you of the incredibly horrible, the horrible incident, as it later became known, the incredible horrid case of the stuffed cabbage and Jeanette Dombrowski, who knew what she was up to. Now, I was going to tell you that story tonight. Do you want to hear the story of that? Have you ever been madly in love with a Polish girl? Oh, there's something yeasty about Polish girls. Really, I don't know what it is. I come from a part of the country where every other person was either Polish or Lithuanian. And all through my formative years, I was madly falling in and out of love with various types of Polish chicks, and being taken to various types of Polish whoopies. That's better. And one of my greatest experiences I ever had, from the standpoint of being truly involved in the gutsy, right down rock bottom compost heap world of true living, was the night I went to a Polish wedding. The first time I went to a Polish wedding. I used to think parties, my idea of a party was when my Grandpa Charlie and my father and Uncle Carl would sit around the kitchen table and play pinochle. That was my idea of party. Wow. Do you ever watch these Rheingold commercials on TV? They're great. And yet they don't go quite far enough, because they show everybody being happy. The one thing they don't show that happens in every one of those parties is the giant fist fight. Now, I have been to 25 various types of Polish weddings. I've been to various types of Lithuanian weddings. I have been to a couple of Greek affairs. I never forget the Hungarian affair that I went to one night. Believe me, it started out from the very instant the first guy arrived. He was fighting. He was fighting with the ham on the table there. He was just, and by the time the evening left, it was one giant fight. It went from 9 o'clock all the way to 4 o'clock the next morning, when the last guy was thrown into the green wagon and taken down to headquarters. And now I'm sure, this is all part of the human Gemütlich. It's all part of the spirit. And in fact, the happy sense of the moment that the party has really begun to swing is when you hear the first crunch of fist against tooth, and the first muffled Mittel Europa expletive. Wow, you're off. I don't know what language that one was. I hope none of you can understand it. It's a fantastic expression that I picked up playing softball. Sometime the only guy I've ever read who writes about this world, the world of the fist-fighting softball player, which I am and was of, the only guy that I've ever read who ever wrote, a serious writer, who ever wrote a story about the south side of Chicago and the softball players, was Nelson Algren. Now, I'm sure that most people who've read this, this doesn't mean anything to them, because they don't know that world. It is as complete a world as that strange little inverted world of J.D. That's right, of J.D. Salinger on the Upper East Side here, which means nothing to my mother living in the South Side. But I want to tell you, gosh, I wish I'd thought about it. Remind me next week to tell you some fantastic softball stories. Now, softball is played among big, grown-up, tough guys in the Middle West, believe me, the way mafia vendettas are played in Sicily. There is no messing around. And there's a very, and since we all play in the same, it's a league. We're constantly playing each other, like we're playing the Emmanuel Brethren of Blue Island. Let me tell you, for one solid week before we played the Emmanuel Brethren, we just practiced swearing. We would practice fist fighting with each other. We did not practice hitting. We did not practice throwing. Bolus would hit me in the gut. See, that would be to get me prepared for the first time I arrived on first base, and the first baseman, made the fake tag. He'd hit in the gut with the ball. Pooh, down you'd go. Well, you'd get up, you see. You're wearing spikes. And so you'd get up, and you'd cleverly march. You go off the bag. You take your lead of about 1.5 feet, and then you would pretend like you're darting back to first base, and you'd strip him from kneecap all the way down to ankle. Wow! Down you'd go. You'd strip him like you're peeling a cucumber. And he would get up, and within 30 seconds, the entire field is a moiling, fantastic battle. Well, that's the way we would practice for our ball games. I would arrive at first, and Bolus would pretend to be first baseman, see, and he would turn with the ball, hit me in the gut. Then I would sneak off of first, see, watching the pitcher with one eye and Bolus with the other. The instant Bolus's eyes go towards the batter, I'd say, I'd slide back, he'd jump, he'd say, it's fine, you're going to get him this week. Very good, Shep. Bolus was the manager. Then we practiced in sliding in high. We would run towards third, full tilt, and slide in on our bottom, you see. Have you ever seen a guy slide in on his bottom with both his feet up, with 18 spikes pointed towards this guy's gut? 18, we'd slide in, and then at the last instant, instead of making a kick for the bag, you kick for his breastplate. You kick right, you just, like that, see, and he's trying to put the tag on one of your feet or something, Listen, should I tell you about the time that, and you won't believe this, what I was playing for? I was playing for a church. We had about as much connection with this church, believe me, as Al Capone had, as Al Capone seriously had with the local parish, that kind of thing. And we were sort of hired by the church, literally. And all these, and the way they hired us was by providing us with uniforms. That's all. That was our pay. We got the uniforms, we got the equipment, and we wore their letters, they're across the front. This is a United Brethren is what I played for. I played for the UB. And the UB. And I'll tell you, there was not a Christian in the lot. The entire crowd, we were neither Jewish nor anything. It was the biggest crowd of pagans, true barbarians you ever saw. And they always talk about taking the Lord's name in vain. Listen, I'll tell you, it was disgusting. I can only tell you that after 4 innings of this, and the score is 0-0, and you are standing up there at the plate, and this big left-hander who is 9 feet tall is throwing him in sidearm illegally, and you have whiffed for the 2nd straight time. And now, I'll tell you, and the lights are flickering out there in the outfield. We had these yellow lights. We had special lights. And when they played in our field, I want to tell you how tricky it got. When they played in our field, see, we played away and home games. See, and all these games were at night. Every last one of these games were at night. And when they played at our field, we had lights. Now, don't worry about it. We had lights, these big lights out there. And down under our little dressing room, they had a variac. And they could set the lights at 3/4, or you could set them up full. And the only... When they were at bat, the lights were set at 3/4. They never could tell it. And when we were up at bat, they'd crank them all the way up, and boy, you'd see that ball. And of course, it was all part of the game, because when we went to there, sometimes it was funny. Between innings, you could see perceptibly, you felt like your eyes were going bad. We would be playing away, and it would be getting darker and darker. And as I'm getting up to bat, I could see the faint outline of the pitcher out there, just faintly. And then I'd hit a fly ball, see, and all of a sudden the lights would come up, and the outfielder would be circling under it, You want to hear more stories of softball? Oh, boy. I'll tell you the time that we were playing in a place called Hegewisch, Illinois. Hegewisch, Illinois is called, in Chicago, it's called No Man's Land. It's literally called No Man's Land. And we were playing one night, a doubleheader in Hegewisch. We were playing Emmanuel Conception, of all places. Oh, boy. We had a riot that started in the middle of the 3rd inning, and it was about 8:30 at night and went on till 1 o'clock in the morning. Sporadic fighting in the bushes. The fights went up into the trees and under the porches, up and down the alleys, and everybody wearing softball uniforms and spikes and carrying gloves and bats. We had special what we call fighting bats. We had bats that we used